Who lives down in deepest, darkest Africa?
All right, welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your agent of Animated Awesome. Today is Monday, and that means it is Animated Series Day. And it also means that this is the ultimate episode review of Kimba the White Lion. Episodes 51, 52. We're going to take a look at the subtitled original Japanese episode, which isn't too much different than the actual one that aired here in the States. And then I'll have a special surprise at the end. And if you'll notice that title card there, you might have figured out what we're going to talk about at least one episode. But before we get too far into this, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. And if you would, please just watch a couple more minutes longer than you might normally. This will go by pretty quick because there's just not that much to it right now. So, having said all that, let's rock and roll and get started.
Kimba, 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 Kimba. Who lives down in deepest, darkest Africa? Africa. Who's the one who brought the jungle fame? Who's the king of animals in Africa? Kimba the White Lion is his name. He's the greatest leader, there's no doubt of it. He's the one we count on night and day. When there's danger, he can get us out of it. Kimba the White Lion leads the way.
All right. So our first episode is episode 51, The Day the Sun Went Out, which is pretty interesting. It brings back Leona and not but not Kitty. So that's a little interesting, I thought. These final two episodes are interesting. I keep using the word interesting, but it's true. That's what they are. So it also involves an eclipse. There she is, Leona herself, and a storm has wrecked the ancestral home of all of Kimba's hides, his family's hides. And she goes to visit him, and they're all getting ready. Daniel says, "Go get ready for school," and they all run away except Kimba, who says it's Saturday. "Daniel, you're like school on Saturday. No class." So they all laugh at him. And then she visits and wants to see her father. I wonder if he told her what happened to their mother, but or even if Snoween or Eliza, if you know, if that was her mother in the first place. So anyway, they go back there, and she's, since the natives have left, no one's keeping it up. She's found a place up in the Nile, which is north of Kimba's kingdom, and as we'll see, and so Kimba wants to help her. All these hides and hundreds of hides, you'd think they'd be starting to rot and desiccate. And I mean, who skinned the lions? This is just a little weird. You think if you put too much thought in it. But the Okapi show up, but apparently Leona's friendly, shares her father's attitudes about not eating prey animals, which I understand. And then they go off marching up there. They get to the river. We don't know what river it is. Orange. Looks like lava, right? The river's made of lava. And these 4 Black Panthers that were in a couple episodes back show up again just because they're jerks. And since Claw is gone and Cassius has gone and Tim and Tab have left, they've got to have some villain, right? And it floods and they all fall down. And Kimba tells the Okapi to save themselves and not worry about the hides. And they save most of them. And then Leona gets annoyed at Kimba and calls him a pussycat and a wuss and runs off to get the rest of the hides. So Kimba leaves and goes back to the jungle. And they're all like, "What's going on?" And the Okapi will then come and say that she's been captured by those same panthers in the village. Incidentally, this episode was first aired September 21st, 1966. And according to Wikia, they don't know when it was aired in the States. And of course, the last episode was September 28th, 1966. Actually, they've got 67 May and June and May, respectively. So I read the wrong thing. So, and they're giving Kimba the silent treatment. He's like, no. Then the eclipse happens, and Boss Rhino says, "You betrayed your sister. That's what happens during when the sun goes out." So off Kimba goes to make things right, and Leona's found a really good spot that's got a stone lion in it. And you see this pot here in the back. That's where the panthers come out, or leopards more than likely. And there's a big fight, and they actually make Kimba bleed, and they show the blood. I mean, maybe they did, maybe they didn't in the U.S. cut, but it's there. But then you don't see it again. So he must have a healing factor, of course. He is Super Lion. He falls down a hole, the same hole that Leona's down. I like the fact that they still make him look like a cat, or a big cat, shaking off fur. Leona finds him, and she's like, "I knew you'd forgive me for scolding you." And it's like, really? Why don't you use your brain and realize that old rotted old lion hides aren't worth live animals? But they get out, they swim out, and they go right back up. Oops, jumping up the waterfall like they're a couple of salmon. And the panthers are trying to get rid of the hides, but Leona and Leo, Kimba that is, hide in them and scare them, and then attack them. More fights. But right as they're about to lose, the cavalry charges in. Everyone shows up. They stomp on him. Bucky puts a boulder over that, and they just leave him there. I mean, did they just let him die and starve to death or eat each other? It's kind of cruel. Kitty says she's going to... Leona says she's going to stay. Kimba says, "I'll visit you, and if you ever need me, let me know." There it is. Now the boulder is gone, so they must have let the panthers out and said, "Don't come back here no more. Don't come around here no more. Stop walking down my street." And off they go back to Kimba's part of the world, which is, in the south of Africa. So now we're going to the next episode there.
Who's the king of animals in Africa? Kimba the white lion is his name.
Now, if you've listened to that first part of the episode, you'll hear a different intro. And I think we played it already before, but I wanted to show it. And so Silvertail the Renegade. And this is an old lion who shows up. He's running because he's done something dumb. And there's hunters after him. The kids are playing who can walk the farthest out on the log, and they all end up in the water. All of them. But Dodie goes down. So this lion doesn't know the law of Kimba's jungle is don't eat prey animals, and he goes after her. She screams. Off they go. His name is Silvertail, Makoba in the Japanese. Makoba, the old lion. He's been running and running. He's hungry and he's tired. They're like, the kids, after that fight, disturb a swarm of bees or spider wasps, as they did the last. And the bees smile. This is a Tezuka trademark, just, having them form really funny things. Just the kids are all stung up because they're dumb. And then the hunters show up, but not Viper, Snakely, or Hamegg, depending on your translation. They've got dogs. Release the hounds! Who was the Hound of Hell? Zoltan. That one's for Lilith. So finally, he gets away from them by hiding in the water, which lions aren't prone to getting in the water unless in real life. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Kimba's trying to not show off his bee stings. Do you know the bees don't die if they sting you? They don't have to. It's only if the sting comes out. And that's your interesting Xenorama fact of the day. But Kimba's still a bit stung over. I appreciate my puns. And they say, you can live with us, just don't you hear. And Daniel, because they're both probably of the same vintage, brings him food, probably the faux meat that the meat eaters like. And it's got him hiding in the Sulphur Springs again, which is where Kimba was when he got beat up by the destroyers from the desert. Bucky wants him out, wants him out, wants him out. They have a disagreement, frank exchange of ideas. The hunters show up. They release the hounds yet again, and they want to get him because Silvertail is stealing livestock because he was hungry. He says he wasn't, but yeah. So the Wikipedia thing just makes me laugh. He is also an insurgent-based lion attacking animals that are all weaker than him. So he's terrified because he's old and he can't catch anything but livestock. And he admits to it, but they give him a chance. I don't remember why exactly Daniel's in the sulfur springs. Like probably cleaning his sinuses. Finally, the animals triumph. They say, just leave. He's under our protection. They can't believe Kimba can talk to him because apparently no one in the Roger never said anything when he went back to civilization. And they are all, and that's it. And that Silvertail will live out the rest of his days, and that's where it ends. I think the Dark Destroyers, the destroyers from the desert, would have been the one. Kimba defeats his final 3 enemies. They say this is Kimba's kingdom. Done. I would have kind of swapped a couple of these around, but what do I know? So there's our credits yet again. We'll see them at the end because it'll be fun. And now we go to the first episode with the Japanese, in Japanese with the subtitle, some of which are a little sketchy, as you'll see.
When we get in trouble and we're in a fight, who's the one who just won't turn and run?
So they use the ponderous episode theme, the ponderous theme song, which is, I'm not surprised they had to change it for kids because that would have. I don't know that. I'm sure I would have liked this because it would have been a cartoon that was different and looked cool, and I liked it as it was. But that theme song really, I don't know how you'd call it. It's no Wild World of Animals, I'll tell you what. And it goes on for about a minute and a half, which is not unusual. So there's some more hippos for Lilith there. And this is just the opening before we get to the credits there, or the title. Go Panja Sun, Go White Lion. And then the narration talks about the Great Rift Valley. So this is Kimba's kingdom, or Panja's kingdom, or Caesar's kingdom. And the west is the Congo, and then north is the Nile. So they're here in the southeast corner above South Africa, but near Kenya's up there. So, and then we get to see Ham Egg or Viper Snakely and his henchman, whose name I've drawn a blank on right off the top of my head. But let's see. I'm looking here, but anyway. So they're capturing animals and they want to get the white lion. Shows up. It's all pretty much the exact same. And we're not going to spend too much time on it because having a baby and her name's Eliza. And these two are from America. They're outside of Africa. And gives birth. So Snoween gives him the same story, tells him what happens, how he got killed. I think that original episode had things might be in a different order, and she's like goodbye, and he jumps in, and things happen exactly the same. Kimba can't fly. They call it a saw shark, which is a sawfish, but everything happens that way. Kimba swims, and little bitty. Look at how little he was portrayed, and he's finally back in Africa. And there it is, and he runs in, and that's it. So, you know what? Well, we're going to have a special episode sneak preview of something that we'll review in the future, but this went by quickly. So, we'll have to do 2 of these. Anyway, let's just go back here. Get ready for a secret part 2, or another part.
monster who came from outer space, created by the Martians to destroy the human race. The FBI is helpless, its 20 stories tall. What can we do? Who can we call? Call for war. Create man. Call for war. Create man. Faster than a rocket. Faster than a jet. He's the mighty robot. He's the one to get. Call for war. Create man. Quick, call for war. The mightiest robot of them all. Eight man. Eight man.
Boy, that copyright video rarities really takes me back because they had no claim on it either. But boy, they sure didn't want other people trying to pirate off their stuff, which some of us did. Some people did. This is the story of how I, Eighth Man, came to be. So this was Eighth Man's very first episode. It's called Eighth Man in Japan. And let's see, it ran in Japan from November 7th, 1963 to December 31st, 1964, a whopping 56 episodes. It was syndicated over here. Let's see if I can find out. Sometime in 65. Now, it was not syndicated, but even by then, black and white was just not, it was falling out of favor for black and white cartoons like this, The Wonder 3 or Amazing 3, Prince Planet. I mean, and even Gigantor and Astro Boy, they hung on longer because they were popular, but they disappeared long before the 70s. Well, I saw Prince Planet into probably in the late 60s, maybe very early, late 60s. But pretty much they wanted color cartoons. Everything had to be color by then. So I'd never seen it, never heard of it, never seen it till the 80s. Late 80s when videotapes started becoming a thing. I had the option of getting a videotape of Kimba or Marine Boy or Eighth Man, and I chose Marine Boy because, me and Marine Boy go way back. But I don't know. It kind of would have been fun to see Eighth Man. These episodes have been redone by Shonikin, a friend of the channel, and you can find them on Internet Archive. Several are subtitled because the audio just isn't up to snuff, and the pictures have all been redone from the Japanese DVDs. I can't tell you if the Blu-rays would look any better because, for a 60-year-old cartoon, I mean, they look great. So this is the origin of Eighth Man, or introducing Eight Man, as he's called over there. He's a robot programmed with human brain patterns. They call him an android or a cyborg. I mean, he's all mechanical, so he's really a robot. Say like Robot Man, either the 40s Robot Man or the Doom Patrol Robot Man, take your pick. But even he had a human brain. Eighth Man only has his Tobor, Detective Brady's thought patterns, like the Vision. There you go, Lilith, another shout out. Had Simon Williams' brain patterns, but he was still his own separate person. This guy this creation is Detective Brady, because he didn't lose any of his original stuff. Anyway, we can get into the woods here and what the difference between androids and cyborgs and, well, that's an easy one. Androids and robots. Androids to me have synthetic parts that are designed to be human, whereas robots are purely mechanical. So he's in a fight here with Saucer Lip and his crony, Unibrow. There's Saucer Lip. He's the coward, of course, but the leader. That's Detective Brady. So he must be on the police force, because if you're not on the police force, you're a private investigator and not a detective. So, but good old Saucer Lip has a trick. They run down Detective Brady and leave him to die. Fortunately, Professor Genius shows up, and Unfortunately, they don't have the voice actors listed here. There was a great website, eighthman.com, and I don't know if it's still around, but it had histories, all sorts of stuff, and I should have pulled that up first. But Professor Genius takes him back, uses this thing to copy his brainwaves and his, massive computer. I like the black and white photography, and there he is, energized. He doesn't like being a robot. He's upset at first, but he just figures out he's strong, and now he's gonna, because he was a detective, he'll be a good guy, and he'll keep using it for right. There's your schematics. There's your eighth man, which he can change his appearance because of the plastic on his skin to anyone, male or female. And it's like the image inducer Nightcrawler used to use. And there's his power. They look like cigarettes, but they're not. But to impressionable kids, this probably wasn't the wisest thing. Not as bad as Cyborg Big X looking like he's injecting himself in the heart with a drug to turn himself into Big X. The kid is, but these were not the best. They're miniature power packs, because he's nuclear. It's pronounced nuclear. Thank you, Homer. And off he goes. But, he does some pondering. What's he going to do with his life? He rescues a dog who doesn't like him because he senses that he's a robot, even though he's a good person. And Fumble-Thumbs here, I don't know why is Tanaka is his name in Japan. I don't know why they were copying Gigantor, Inspector Blooper. And they were all comic characters, these inspectors, and head of security. Why would you want Blooper and Fumble-Thumbs to be your head of your police is beyond me. But they're humorous, and it's funny. Lightens the mood there. There's his workforce. He wants Brady's killer found. And off he goes. They're chasing Saucer Lip and his crony. It looks like he shoots him in the eye, but he does. Ow, my eye! I'll get an eye patch for Kelso. But they're so, it's a violent show. I mean, the dub lessens it quite as much as they can, but Tobor just lets people die if they deserve it. And there's Jenny Heartsweet, who is Sachiko in the Japanese version. And there he's grabbing her by the hair. You can tell he's an unsavory personality. So Fumble-Thumbs is going to let him go, but Eighth Man shows up looking heroic. I would have liked this show as a kid. I would have really liked this show because it's closer to a U.S. superhero show than, say, it's more serious. I mean, it's got humor in it, but it's more serious than, say, Astro Boy or Prince Planet. It's like Speed Racer. There's his strength, and they arrest him, and that's it. He goes to Inspector Chief Fumble-Thumbs there. He's not an inspector, but Chief Fumble-Thumbs tells him who he is. Chief is smoking. Nobody seems to have a problem with actual cigarettes, but he's hired Jenny Heartsweet as his secretary, and of course she falls in love with him. And he's a robot, so he's not going to do anything. But if Data can be fully functional, why can't Tobor? Oh, his new name's Tobor, which is robot spelled backwards, that nobody ever figured out at all. I have to find that movie, Tobor the Invincible, Tobor the Great. I really liked that as a kid. I haven't seen it for 2 decades probably. And off he goes. And that, my fellow agents, is the end of our episodes here. And I don't have... we're just going to end it with that. Kimba will end with the text or the original closing for Kimba. Next week we will have something possibly Hanna-Barbera related. I'm thinking something with dinosaurs in it, because we haven't done a sheer dinosaur thing for quite a while. But until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.
Kimba, 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 Kimba. Who lives down in deepest, darkest Africa? Who's the one who brought the jungle fame? Who's the king of animals in Africa? Kimba the white lion is his name. just won't turn and run. Who